It's Rut and River.
Yes.
Correct.
R-U-T.
I rest my beard hair on it.
And then you know you're there.
Like a nice, gentle little pillow for my beard.
Right.
And then I'm all up in it.
Oh.
I'm like Kobe beef for sharks.
Can I ask you, what made you guys call me up about, well, this?
That's what tickles our fancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thought the Rocky Mountains would be rockier.
John Denver is not accurate.
Man.
A guy like you, who has absolutely no clue, and I can hear it in your voice, that, I mean, you're a blank canvas. I mean, I just start with you like from scratch.
You're going to tell me, a grown man, you're telling me what lure to use and how to fish?
You guys didn't snap your whopper plopper off either, though. Sorry, I blew up over that.
Hey guys, welcome back to this week's Science Campfire episode. You're listening to the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. This is reality outdoor radio, where our mission is to get you outdoors by connecting you with the skills, products, and people you can trust. I'm Kyle, who I got with me.
I'm Steve.
I'm Will.
It's Bucky.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
This is Dave.
This episode is brought to you by Finn's Fishing. Finn's offers premium braided lines that are made in the USA.
Nice.
And they are custom designed for your specific application. I'm talking about whether you're punching mats.
I love punching mats.
I know you do, buddy. I know you do. If you're doing that, you're probably using Finn's original PRT braid or slinging a topwater lure with the shock-absorbing line. You'll be fishing with a premium super line that is engineered for one specific purpose.
What's that, bud?
Helping you catch more fish.
Yeah, buddy.
And we could use it.
You know it. Finn's also offers a braid specifically designed, in my opinion, for Stevie. It helps reduce wind knots.
That's awesome. He's terrible.
Uh-huh. And they've got one that replaces the steel cables for your downriggers. So follow them on Instagram or Facebook by searching for Finn's Fishing and learn more about their products, or go ahead and place your order at finsfishing.com. Remember, Finn's fish is better.
Yeah, buddy.
Guys,
It's trout of control.
we're about to get real trout of control.
Do it.
We have
Get trout of town.
we have a guest right in line with our Trout-tastic Trout of Control month.
That is trout-tastic.
We have Jason Myers of Myers Flies. How's it going, Jason?
Hey guys, doing really good, man. Glad to be on the show. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for
glad
coming
to
on.
have you.
I'm glad to have you.
Guys, I'm glad you picked up the phone.
Well, I had second thoughts, but I thought, well, I better keep my word.
How did we find Jason?
We kind of ran into Jason at the Donegal Fish Show.
There we go. Donegal Fish Show again.
Uniting people.
Yeah.
It is.
So you ran into him. What was he doing there?
He was selling some flies and actually tying some flies, weren't you guys, Jason?
Yeah, we were tying some up while we were there. We were selling them, tying them, you know.
Well, tell us a little bit about your company, Jason.
So Myers Flies, just something my brother and I kind of stumbled into. I started fly fishing when I was about 18 years old.
Yeah.
My father-in-law, Johnny Spurlock, he got me into it. He has a camp up, northern PA, and we always would go up there turkey hunting, and then he'd want to go out in the afternoon and fly fish, and I wasn't really into it. But so anyhow, he got me into it, and so I fished that for a while, and then I got out of it, into the ministry. I pastor a church, so that's my first priority and first love is the ministry, and it just kind of it gets consuming, and so I couldn't give up everything, so I kept turkey hunting and deer hunting and kind of let fishing fall off to the side. So it was probably 3 years ago that I wanted to get more into it and kind of pick it back up, and I ran into a Holsinger's Fly Shop. I was just Googling fly shop. Yep, I was just Googling fly shops, and the fact of it was his fly shop popped up, and a Bible verse popped up on his website, and I'm like, man, that's right up my alley. Yeah. So I called him, and we spent about an hour on the phone with Ron Holsinger, and then within about 2-3 weeks, I was up at his shop, and met him and Sean and Pat Smith, and just kind of that's where it was born. And got back into the fly fishing aspect of it and tying flies. Those guys were instrumental in getting me into tying, into the fly fishing and things. And so we just just started doing it more, and started tying some flies. They were really working really well in our home water here, and every time we'd be out, we'd be catching some stuff. People would be, standing there. Hey, what are you guys using? What are you using? And so I'd say, well, we're using.
I
these
never do that.
Yeah, yeah. So it was just one of them things. We just started giving them away. We'd say, hey, we'll try one of these, and after a while, it kind of got costly just giving away all the stuff. So we thought, man, we better, start selling them. And that was how it was born. My brother opened it up, and he does that aspect of it. I tie some flies. I do some promotional stuff on Instagram. People can follow us on Instagram. You can, type up Myers Flies, Facebook, Myers Flies, and then, of course, MyersFlies.com. And so that's kind of what I do, is more of the promotional stuff. I tell my brother, I'll go catch the fish and put them online if he just runs the business. So
that's a good deal.
That sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, he enjoys tying. He ties a lot. My nephew ties a lot, and we got a lot of special orders, and it's just really, really taken off. These past 3 years, it's just it's been really good. God's really blessed it. We enjoy it. We enjoy meeting people. Yeah, and just the sport, man. It's just it's amazing being outside, and so that's kind of how we got going with it.
Did you start trout fishing as a fly fisherman, or did you start? I think typically the normal progression is you're
worms,
throwing live bait, and then bobbers, then artificials, then eventually I think most guys make their way to fly fishing. But is that was that your progression?
Right. Well, I was a worm chucker, at one time. I started off, we would, in Pennsylvania, as you guys know, man, in school, all the guys, we had a 22 behind the seat or a shotgun behind the seat of the truck, and, fishing rod and the gun rack. And, just after school, we would, head out to a stream somewhere and catch some trout. And usually it was, just the first 2 weeks or so, of trout season. And so that's kind of where it was at. But,
okay.
So we started with the spinning rods. But the fly aspect, it's just so much more in depth. There's just a lot more to learn. I'm certainly, not the master. I just want to be a student, and just continue to learn, because there's so much to learn, and that's the fun of it with doing the fly fishing aspect. So,
no question about it. And you learned, like when you got back into it with Sean and Uncle Ron, those guys are really, really knowledgeable. Good teachers.
Absolutely.
So I think that it would really give anybody a leg up. And it's cool to hear that, for me personally, Stevie and I are cousins with Sean.
Disclaimer.
Just a little disclaimer.
Yeah, so. Sean already warned me. He already did. So So I talked to him the other day. He warned me. So.
Oh man.
But they are just super guys.
They are
if they weren't related.
Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're world-class people. They were so patient with us and just very helpful. And, we caught on very fast, and just, and learning, constantly reading, constantly asking questions. And they were always there, to help and, to encourage. And so, it was really good. Another guy at my church, Tom Bergensmith, he really helped me. He knows a lot of water in PA, and he's been fly fishing his entire life. He's probably in his 50s, and he was really instrumental in taking me out and in local streams and other streams and showing those places. And so
sure. And that was the other thing I was going to bring up, is that it's kind of when you start looking in PA for trout waters, you're going to find it. And I think that's everywhere. The beautiful part is that, all you have to do is ask a couple questions or grab a buddy and boom, you're ripping out trout like everybody else.
Hit it backroads and just look for the parked cars.
There you go. If you want to do it on your own, look for the parked cars.
Jason, one of the first, I think, Oh man, it may have been. It was in at least the top 10 or first 10 episodes we did was with Sean, and it was kind of a basic fly fishing, fly tying. How to fly fish.
Yeah.
What
Pretty fly for a wet fly.
Yeah, it was called Pretty Fly for a Wet Fly, and Sean kind of reviewed with us.
The basics, yeah.
Yeah, just the basics. And since then, believe it or not, we haven't really talked about. We've probably talked more about deep sea trolling for tuna than we have about fly fishing. And so, can you go through us? Like, if I'm a new fly fisherman,
just asking for a friend.
For a friend. If I'm a new
for a friend.
Yeah, if I'm a new fly fisherman, what do I do? What do I get started? What do I look for? How do I do it? There's so many terms out there. It's so confusing.
Yeah, there is, and I think marketing has done its job in just kind of making people think they have to spend $1,000. For a rod, and you got to buy this and that, and it's so, it's kind of out of people's reach, but it's really not, because the quality of fly rods today is far superior to the 70s, when they first got into glass and mixing with graphite, and so I mean, stuff has improved, technology's improved, so you can buy an inexpensive rod, $100 to $200. You can buy a reel for same deal, $50 to $300. You can get in this thing for $200 to $400 easy with a rod, and you'd have that on a deer rifle, So you can get a decent setup. I would encourage somebody, to talk to somebody about that. I would say an 8.5 foot 4-weight, 8.5 foot 5-weight rod is going to be your standard all around. You can do just about anything with it. You can throw dry flies, you can throw wet flies, you can throw streamers, you can nymph fish with it, and it'll really get you in that all around basket right off the bat. As far as other gear, having a backpack or a vest, some of these things can be purchased $50 to $100, $150, and really the sky's the limit. It's how much you want to spend.
Yeah.
And then, with anything else, but then getting some flies, knowing what you're going to be fishing. If you're going to be targeting trout in a stream, what's your average size stream? Is it going to be you're going to try in the river, or are you going to go into the streams? Knowing where you're going to fish, the area is going to help you with fly selection, and it's inexpensive to get set up, but you need to get a hold of somebody that knows what's going on, because I see a lot of guys, and we meet them out on the water, and I try to be helpful without being pushy. I don't want to tell somebody, hey, you're doing that wrong. Nobody wants to be that guy. It's like, shut up, leave me alone. I want to be invited in. So I kind of talk to people, or they ask me questions. But I encourage people, find somebody who knows what they're doing, and ask them and try to get set up. And basic, there's a few basic casts that you would need to to learn some basic knots and things to tie on your flies and leaders and things of that nature. So
what about your lines? Because when I look at a fly line, you have tapered, you have sinking, you have floating, is there something like, where would you start with that? Because
the line, the leader, or the tippet?
The line started.
All three. You need all three.
Right.
So, yeah. So here's the thing. There's we're doing what's called Euro nymphing right now, or European nymphing. Some people call it French nymphing. It's a tactic that obviously came from over in Europe, and we're doing more Euro nymphing now than we are what I would call traditional fly fishing.
Okay.
And so, really, I would ask somebody, what do you want to do? Because that really takes a big chunk. It's totally different.
Well, let's go down that rabbit hole of urine.
Yeah, I've been seeing that everywhere.
That seems like a popular thing in the fly world right now. So let's go down that. What would your setup be?
Okay. So let's
that
say
streamer. Just let that float down.
He said
the
nymph,
line.
not a streamer, but
Mend it.
Mend it.
Mend it. Set the hook. Mend it. I heard you guys had the Patterson on there, so mend it. You got to mend that line. Yeah. So not so much in urine nymphing. So let's say urine nymphing. The line is really insignificant in a lot of situations. There is a urine nymphing line, and typically it's just a very lightweight line because your line is really your back on your rod.
Yeah.
Because you're not using it. We tie like a 20-foot leader, and so what we do is we use Maxima chameleon in different colors and whatnot. But the idea would be sections of 20 pound, 15 pound, 12 pound, 10 pound. Then we tie in a cider line, which is like a fluorescent green, fluorescent red, maybe 2 foot to 3 foot. That's what you're going to be watching. That's what's going to be your trigger. That's going to be your indicator.
Like a bobber.
That thing. Yeah, kind of like a bobber, but it's in the line. So, kind of a bobber, but not. So it's in the line.
It's a bobber.
In the line. Yeah. So you're watching that line, and you're watching it twitch. If it twitches, if it straightens, if it does anything, set the hook. You want to set that hook because chances are it could be a rock, but it could be a fish. So then you're just coming off of the bottom of that cider line straight down to your terminal end where your fly is. So that's usually like a 3 pound line, something like a 4X or 3X line that comes down. So urine nymphing is just straight line. The idea is that there's no friction. You want the thinnest line that you can, and so that when you throw your line up like you would cast upstream, that fly, we're using heavier flies. They're tungsten beads on these flies. We wrap them with lead, and so it's a heavy fly. So you're not putting split shot on your line. So it's just the fly. So you've got the fly, the line, and goes to the end of your rod. So anything that thing hits, that fly is ticking across the bottom. It goes straight to the bottom. It's ticking across the bottom. Anything it hits, you feel the whole deal. And so it's very sensitive. It's a very effective way. Since I've been doing this about the past year, I've caught way more fish, hands down.
So
way more fish.
Jason, there's no actual floating line or tapered leader to a tippet with urine nymphing. It's straight. I mean, it almost sounds like a spinning rod setup where you have a reel and just the line.
Yeah, some people may think that. There is a tapered leader. We build the tapered leader.
Okay.
So it's kind of like where your fly line is on your rod. And sometimes the fly line comes out a little bit, but it's up close and personal. A 20-foot leader, we build it tapered. We build it from 20 pound down to 10 pound.
Okay.
And that part is going to include the line, the leader material, and then the indicator section, which is 2 to 3 feet. And then that's going to be always out of the water. That's always out of the water.
I got you.
Yep, that's always out of the water.
That's the difference. Okay.
Yeah, so underneath of that indicator line, underneath of there, I put a tippet ring, just a little ring. Looks like an eye of a hook.
Yeah.
Just a little tippet ring. And then from there, that's what goes in the water. So it depends on how deep your water is, how fast it's going. All of that depends on what type of tippet material now I'm going to put on the end of that. That's going to go down to my flies. I'm going to tie up, there's different ways to tie up flies, but I usually run 2 flies. And so, that goes straight to the bottom. I mean, you cast that, it goes, just straight to the bottom, bumping across, and very effective, very effective.
So he's running a dropper on there.
A dropper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you're saying nymphing, you're basically mimicking like would that be the first or second life cycle of a fly? The worm phase.
So you've got.
Fly.
Obviously there's the whole life cycle of a nymph, or of a mayfly, say, and you've got the little larva, the pupa, the nymph. It's in the nymphal stage for most of it's life. And when we say nymphal stage, it looks like a little bug crawling around, depends on what kind it is. But it's in that nymphal stage, most of the year. And so what it'll do is once it's getting ready to hatch, it becomes what we call an emerger. It starts, coming out like a caterpillar coming out of a cocoon. It starts coming out of that little shock, and then starts going up through the water column. It leaves the rocks. It's leaving underneath of the rocks and the bottom of the creek, and it's going to come up through the water column. It's going to come out. It's going to sit there on the surface of the water, and get its wings dry and all of that. Then it's going to fly up into the trees, and within 2 days it's going to mate. It's going to lay its eggs. It's going to die. It's just that simple. So for most of that little mayfly that you see flying around for 360 days out of the year, it's down in the rocks.
Underwater.
So is this more approach? When I think of fly fishing, it's always match the hatch. You gotta look to see what's going to be on top of the water. So is this kind of an easier introduction? So because they are in the nymph stage longer.
Right. So most people, when they think of fly fishing, they think of Brad Pitt out on the water, chucking these fly, swinging back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
And, and so, although I may look like Brad Pitt and have this celebrity status, that's not the case at all. 95%, and that's a random number, but the majority, 95, 96%, of those fish, those trout, are going to be eating nymphs underwater. It's not the norm, you know what I'm saying, that they're going to be taking the dry flies. So you could fish all day long with dry flies and not catch a fish. If they're not looking up, if there's nothing coming off, if it's not, it's just they're not taking stuff off the top, but they're always eating something that's coming through the water column like a nymph. And so what that fish is doing is it's facing upstream and it's sitting almost belly on the bottom. It's just sitting there. That trout is facing upstream in a lane, and any kind of food that's drifting down through there, a deer steps in the water, upstream and kicks a rock over. That on the bottom of that rock is maybe a caddis or some mayfly nymph or some type of a scud or a sow bug, which is like a little freshwater shrimp or
any macroinvertebrates.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Fine, Deke guy, the science guy.
Why don't you just say that? Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, Deke.
You want your own show, man. Deke.
Well, this guy knows. Yeah.
So
it's exactly it. So they're going to kick off.
I probably know the most about this.
They're gonna kick off of those rocks, and now they're going to be tumbling down through the water column, and so that fish is just going to be sitting there sipping the food. It's kind of like the conveyor belt, the water's bringing the food right to the fish. And he's just sitting there all day long eating.
It's like a number one.
So you just have your kid walk across upstream of you and chum, really.
Kick up a bunch of
he's just chumming nymphs.
Yeah.
Will you stop it?
Well, but the thing there would be then that the fish have plenty of things to eat. So the way it was explained to me a long time ago was also, if you think about the way the trout sit in the stream, like you said, they're on the bottom, they're facing upstream, they're waiting for food to come to them. Depending upon the depth of the water and the speed of the stream, it takes a lot of energy for that trout to rise all the way to the top and take that food off the surface. So when it comes to dry flies, they're really, that's where the match the hatch idea comes in, and you want to throw something similar to the mayflies or whatever happens to be landing on the water, but they're not expending a lot of energy to just stay in the bottom and let the food come to them.
That's
so
it. Trout are
bang for
lazy.
their buck. Yeah, they're lazy.
Trout are lazy.
That's why I like them.
Yes.
A lot like me.
That's why I catch a lot of fish, because I think like a trout. I mean, how can I eat the most without expending energy? Go.
Sounds
and that's what a trout's doing. You're exactly right. Now, I mean, they're a predator. They are a predator, so they've got this predator instinct. So now, when you go to leaving the nymphing and what we were calling euro nymphing and just nymphing, and then you go into throwing streamers, that streamer is going to imitate or mimic a bait fish. And so when you're swinging that streamer down through there and stripping it back through, and that's what a lot of guys will do with spinning rods and the little spinning bait, the rooster tails, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. They're just imitating some little bait fish or some little that's swimming through. And when that trout sees a fish kind of, acting funny in the water, he thinks it might be injured. Hey, that's an easy meal. He's bam. I mean, it's like a switch turns on and he's in predator mode, and bam, Arnold Schwarzenegger ain't going to stop him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, it's like predator full on. And so, and that's cool, and so there's all kinds of ways. I tell guys, don't get hung up. Don't say, I've got to, match the hatch. I've got to, and when you're matching the hatch, I mean, really the only thing you need to worry about most of the time is just size and color. Try to get something the same color and about the same size. And I'll tell you, I use a lot of just elk hair caddis, a lot of Griffiths gnats, some stimulators, what they call stimulator, just kind of, looks like maybe like a grasshopper or some kind of a, stonefly or something like that. And that's most of my dry fly fishing. I mean, very basic patterns, because, the 5% of the time I'm going to use them, it's not going to be much, but when I do want them, I can usually get a couple of those different colors, a couple of those different sizes, and I'm good to go. So, I mean, that's, in a nutshell, that's, the Euro nymphing. You talked about line. If you're talking a traditional type, nymphing, where you've got a 5-weight rod and you got a 5-weight floating line, and most of the time it is a tapered line, which means probably 30, 40 feet back on the line, it kind of tapers out, and you're going to tie your leader to that. Most people would use like 7, 8, 9 foot leaders that they would tie on the end of that. A lot of people would use indicators, or like a bobber. They would put that on there, and then they're nymphing, that way. They're trying, but there's a lot of variables, because you've got a bobber on the top of the water, and you're trying to get your nymph to the bottom. Well, the water speed at the top is a lot faster than the water speed at the bottom. That's why that fish is on the bottom, because it's not as fast down there. He doesn't have to expend as much energy at the bottom. You see what I'm saying? So there's 2 different water speeds. Yep. It's just, I just don't think it's as effective. And so that's why, as people kind of have been tweaking these techniques, finding what works, just catching more fish.
Now, I don't want to go necessarily back into the Euro nymphing stuff, but if you could,
it sounds like you're going
to me the way you're tying these things on, because honestly, I think I use the nail knot is what I use to go from my line, which is generally a floating line, to my leader.
Correct.
And then at that point, that leader tapers down. I buy the pack of the 20-foot leader or whatever it is. And it tapers down to something so small, it's like, I'm not even going to bother tying on my tippet. I'm just going to tie my flies right on this because I'm lazy. So what are the knots that you're using after the line?
So mostly it's just clinch knots, a clinch knot or an improved clinch knot. So all you're going to do, there's a couple different ways you can attach the line. 2 basic ways would be, come down under your indicator, and where you're going to be tying like under your indicator, maybe go 5, 6 feet, depends on your water depth, but go about 5, 6 feet. And sometimes, I'll put a tippet ring right there, right on the bottom of that. And so then what that allows me to do is I can tie like a 24, 26 inch piece of, just say, 4 or 5X tippet, and then I'm going to tie my heavier fly onto that. That's going to be what they call an anchor fly, or your point fly. Then what you're going to do off that same tippet ring is you're going to take about a 4 to 6 inch little tag, what they call the dropper, and you're going to use 4 or 5X tippet, and you're going to put a lighter fly, something that's either equal or lighter than what your point fly is, and that's going to be your dropper. And so that's the easiest way. I tell guys, getting into this, that's the easiest way to tie up that rig, because now you've got your anchor fly that's going to get you to the bottom. You're going to be, drifting there, and then your dropper tag is going to be most likely riding a little higher in the water column.
Which one do you normally catch fish off of, the anchor or the dropper? Yeah.
I would say predominantly it's the anchor fly, but I catch a lot off of the dropper as well. So, I would say it has to be the anchor fly is the majority of the fish.
Okay.
But say out of 5, 6 fish, I might catch 1 or 2 on the tag.
So
dropper.
it's still worth it to have that dropper.
Oh, absolutely. It's worth it for a lot of reasons. It's worth it because it gives them another selection. Just as far as, I don't want to eat this. Okay, well, I'll eat that. It gives them another selection. It adds more weight to your setup to help you get you down to the bottom. And then also, it's going to, give you another spot in the water column. That anchor fly is, going to be bouncing directly on the bottom. A lot of times that dropper tag is up in the water column another, couple inches. So if that trout is a little higher in the water column, you're going to get him there.
Man. So if you're using these tippet rings and you're running a dropper, I'm assuming then, because I've never done that. I've never run more than one fly at a time. So then you're not, to go back to the Brad Pitt visual, you're not casting like that, right?
No.
You're using a roll cast to just drop this thing back upstream a little bit and let it bounce back.
Well, actually, the roll cast is not going to really work with the leader, with the Euro setup. Yeah, because there's no weight hardly, you know what I mean, in the leader itself, and you've got these heavy flies.
So how do we get it back upstream?
So what you do is it's like a flick. What you're doing is you're using the water downstream. You want to flick the fly. A lot of times I'll just flick it downstream and let the water pull it. So you've got the water tension, the water's pulling your fly downstream, and you're just going to flick it back upstream. Yeah.
So you're getting flex from the rod, from the downstream pull, lifting up, and it's kind of springing it upstream for the flick?
Correct. Because your line in traditional fly fishing, the weight of the line, when you're doing, like you said, your roll casts, or the Brad Pitt or whatever, your flies are very light. It's the weight of your line that's going to roll out and then turn over your leader for you. Well, now you've eliminated that. So now what you're going to do, where you would put your rod straight up in the air by your ear and flick and do your roll cast, now everything is kind of horizontal. You're keeping your rod more horizontal on the water.
Right.
So I'm flicking it downstream. I'm flicking it upstream, because now I'm using a 10-foot rod. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the Euro nymphing, I use a 10-foot 3-weight. So a lot of guys will use 10-foot 3-weight, 10-foot 2-weight, or 10.5, or 11-foot.
I thought
even 11-foot 6. They're using 2 weights, 3 weights, etc.
I thought it would be more like a 3 meter or a 4 meter rod. If we're European.
Yeah. So I guess if you're over there, you would be.
A 3.2 meter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but since I have no clue what that is,
I was just spitballing.
Neither do we.
I have to add it up.
He is all about accuracy.
He is.
Yeah.
Well, we were throwing numbers.
Honestly, the reason I was asking that is I'm just envisioning a tippet ring with multiple hooks coming off and different length leaders. Like, I can't keep one hook on the end of my fly line untangled.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine if I'm trying to run multiple lines and stuff, while I'm zinging that thing back over my head from
Oh, you
10
got
to
that.
a
You
dozen
can do
times.
it, bud.
Yeah,
Have
come
confidence in yourself.
Right. That's
Yeah,
where
now,
you're
if you're-
not casting like that.
If you're Brad Pitting it over your head 5, 6, 10 times, yeah, you're going to get tangled to junk. Absolutely. And so that's why I'm saying.
So I need more droppers.
You're gonna. I never use more than 2. So I've got my anchor fly and then the little tag dropper that comes off, and every 5, 6 casts maybe, I'm gonna pull my line up and I'm just gonna spin that little dropper, because that little dropper will kind of go around your line a little bit, and you can just pretty much. Just spin it around. Just spin it, and it comes undone, good to go. And that's where good tippet comes in. With no memory. We use Maxima tippet because it has virtually no memory. If you use cheap junk, if somebody's getting whatever, I don't know, Walmart,
Go on.
Eagle Claw, or I'm sorry. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff at Walmart. Okay, a lot of great stuff at Walmart.
Did you just look at my
Double-stuffed
tackle
Oreos.
He looked at
Double stuffed Oreos.
Stevie's plastic snelled hooks.
Yeah, that's what you use
Eagle
your
Claw
powder
snelled
worms.
hooks.
So if you're using a cheap line that has a lot of memory, you're gonna be a mess. You're gonna hate life. It's gonna be miserable.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah, so we use a nice, nice tippet, good quality tippet that has, virtually no memory, and then you still get some tangles, and then you catch a fish, you bring the fish to the net, and it flops around, all crazy and gets you tangled up. I mean, you're going to get tangles, but it's just way more effective, and like I said, it's not a cast as in traditional fly fishing. It's more you're just flicking it downstream one time, and you're flicking it upstream one time. It's not a back and forth.
Makes sense.
So then using those clinch knots or improved clinches, then that makes it easier to retie stuff on the water. I was just trying to envision myself tying nail knots or doing something with.
That's tough.
And then you drop your nail in the water.
Yeah, and it's gone.
Right.
I don't have a floating nail.
Yeah.
Right. Now Myers Flies at MyersFlies.com, you can get floating nails. Yeah, we do.
What?
Oh.
Boom.
See how I worked that into the conversation?
Nice.
Oh, you did that on purpose. Nice.
Yeah.
Hey,
You're a
Jason. What draws you to fly fishing? What makes you tick to want to do this?
Man, I love being outside. I love, I love being in the creation. God's made some tremendous beauties, man. I mean, the sound of the water.
Just makes you have to pee after a while, right?
What's that?
Sorry.
Yeah. So, you just dump your waders out later. You know what I'm saying? Just,
Okay.
let it go. Empty them later.
Keeps you warmer.
It's kind of like NASCAR. Just wear a diaper. You know what I'm saying? We sell MyersFlies.com. We have fishing diapers. That way you don't got to take your waders off.
It's for astronauts and fly fishermen.
So, it was a couple years ago. I mean, I was under a lot of stress, and I was with my father-in-law, as I said, Johnny Spurlock. I was with him up in the mountains. We were on the Pine Creek, in the Pine Creek Valley, and it was an evening. We got done turkey hunting, and we took our fly rods out, and again, this was when I was kind of just putzing around with it more. I wasn't as serious as I am now with it. And I stood in the middle of the Pine Creek, and the sun was just, peeking over the mountain. Everything was textbook. The birds singing, the mayflies coming off. Here's the sound of the water, and I'm just out there thinking, man, God, you have created some amazing stuff. And it brought peace, it brought just a serenity over me, and I love that. I love just being able to kind of empty my mind. A lot of times I'll be memorizing Bible verses while I'm out there on the water, just thinking about, just nature and it's just so peaceful out there. And so I think, to me, that's what draws me to the stream with my fly rod and just getting out, getting away, and enjoying that. And then the learning process. I love to learn, and I think as long as we're stimulating our brains, there's something there. There's something about that constantly learning. So you're turning rocks over. Hey, what kind of bugs are in this creek? What's around me right now? Learning techniques, learning different things, So I really enjoy the learning aspect of it. Man, I just love being outside, man.
Yeah.
I get it, man. I get it.
I hate to put you on the spot, but like Easter's, right upon us here. Is there any Bible stories that you've learned that help you with fly fishing? Like, I know Jesus is famous for,
hung out with
He was a fisher of men.
Cast your net on the other side of the boat.
Walking on water. I think he was finding fish. I'm just saying, like, what
making more?
What is there anything that just off the top of your head that kind of stands out would be like something that would help you fish better?
Well, and somebody said it there. I don't know who it was. Cast your net on the other side. Here's his disciples. They're out there fishing, all night. They're not catching anything. Jesus comes out and he says, cast your net on the other side. Now, you're looking at a 12-foot wide boat, okay? Maybe 20 feet, if that. So here's what Jesus is saying. He's saying, you've been fishing on this side of the boat. Why don't you try to throw it on the other side of the boat? The disciples are like, really? Like 15, 20 feet really going to make a difference? Okay, if you say it, Jesus, we'll do it. And they gave it a try. They threw it on the other side, and the Bible says they caught a ton of fish. So in that light, when you're out there fishing, sometimes those fish are laying at spots that you would say there's no fish there, and them fish are there. And sometimes you got to try that. You've got to try something different. If you get into a rut with anything. And just same old, you'll get the same old results. And so you've got to try some different stuff. And so, as far as a Bible verse, that kind of stands out to me that, I'm always thinking about that. Like, I wouldn't fish here. Maybe I haven't fished there yet. Let me go try that little spot over there, and a lot of times you'll pick up a fish.
Jason, one question I have for you is, PA has some great native trout streams, but obviously we have a lot of streams that are stocked with trout. Is there anything that you notice, like with the stock trout, that maybe that first week or two they're not really into going after more of the natural presentation style baits like your nymphs, or is there any type of like transition period, or are they hitting nymphs right away as well?
Well, there is a learning period. It depends on the hatchery where their stock trout are. If they're in a concrete, tub, what I'm saying? Yep. There's not going to be a lot of bugs in there. Right. If it's a hatchery that's a stone, like a gravel bottom, and it comes. Some of the hatcheries they'll come, and this is mostly private clubs type stuff. The water will come in from a creek and go out to a creek. Yeah. And kind of one of them deals, or and there's filters along the way and all that kind of stuff. But they might have some nymphs there. Certainly bugs are going to land on the top of the water. I've seen them in a hatchery pop on the top, you know what I'm saying, and take something off the top. Yeah. So that's going to happen. But typically, when they, get stock truck comes out and they're throwing them into the creek there, a lot of times there's a shock period. Yeah. And sometimes them fish are not going to hit, for a couple hours or even maybe till the next day. Okay. And then, but usually, studies have found, that within 2-3 days, they're eating nymphs. They're learning. They're constantly learning. They eat a stick, they spit it out. They'll eat a rock, they'll spit it out. They'll take a nymph. Okay, that's food. That they learned that, so they're constantly learning what's in there. So within 2 to 3 days, I mean, most of them are taking nymphs, and I caught a lot of stockfish, on top water. They're hitting nymphs and stuff. So, but typically with stocked fish, that's why a lot of guys use like power bait or like a bright, attractive type thing.
Yeah.
And wild fish will hit that stuff too. Wild fish will hit it too, but typically they'll go after some, just some brighter stuff.
Yeah, something that's attracting more attention.
Correct.
Jason, are there any misconceptions about fly fishermen that you'd like to clear up?
Denounce
at this time? Because I know I have an opinion.
Refute.
Okay.
Or I have
I denounce that we're all snobs, okay? I denounce that we're all rich, uppity people that that think we're better than the rest of the world. And
it's not all symphony music and watercolors.
Right, because I hate symphony. Give me a banjo and a mandolin and a dobro, and I'm bluegrass, brother. So
paddle faster. I hear banjo music.
Man, bluegrass gospel.
Do you know of any fly fishermen that fish for food?
I don't know. I'm basically catch and release. I know a lot of fly fishermen are, and I know a lot of guys. They. Fly fishermen, especially, a lot of fly guys and a lot of traditional type guys that are only going to throw dries or natural type stuff, a mop fly or a San Juan worm they think's the devil, I've seen some of those guys kind of get down on guys for keeping fish.
Yeah.
And here's just my personal philosophy. Those put and take fish, stock fish, you know what? Have at them. Take them. Get them out of the stream, especially if they're in a wild area, because they're going to mess up the wilds. They're going to be in competition for food. They're going to be, you know what I'm saying? Let the wilds go. I let 99.9% of my fish go. If my kids are fishing with me and they want to bring one home and eat it, I'm teaching them. I'm going to teach them how to clean that fish, how to cook that fish, how to survive. I think we need to do that.
Right.
The fish are there to eat. Man, Jesus and his disciples ate fish. Right. I mean, so the fish are there to eat. But however, I just have a lot of respect for a wild fish that was born in that stream and survived the stupid herrings that fly. Oh, I can't stand them things. Pecking them out, clawing them to death, and little minks and little weasels that are flying. And these guys survive for like 3, 4, 5 years, and they become these beautiful fish. I respect that fish too much to eat that fish. You know what I'm saying? So I use all barbless. We use barbless hooks, so that we're not injuring that fish, keeping them wet, to where I can enjoy the catch. I enjoy that fight. I enjoy, running your line down through there and all of a sudden, bam, there it is. The excitement that every cast could be the fish of a lifetime. Man, it's just awesome, And so that's what I enjoy. I like taking pictures. I like, all of that stuff. So for me, that's going to be the extent of what we do. So anyhow,
so we do have we got to this point in the show where we like to break out the fast five. It's 5 questions, and you just answer them honestly, and like you've been doing the whole show.
There's no wrong answer.
We'll tell you if it's wrong.
We'll see.
Correct.
Okay.
We'll tell you. All right, question 1, Jason. What's one thing you can't live without in the outdoors?
Like an implement or some,
Anything.
It's a fast question.
One thing that you cannot.
I got it wrong already. Jump. Yeah. So, you need fire. You need a weapon. You need something to survive in the outdoors.
There you go.
Perfect.
Boom.
What is it?
A weapon.
He said fire.
A weapon. Give me a gun.
Yeah.
A gun and a Zippo. How about that?
Well, you can't live without it. Number 2, what are you most proud of, Jason?
Well, I would say, it's not going to be fishing. It's not going to be anything. I'm proud to say that I'm a born-again Christian. I'm a child of God. He's blessed me with a beautiful family, beautiful wife, 3 kids. That's my heart, is my family.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Jason, what is one thing that you do daily to prepare for your outdoor lifestyle?
I think learning. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly, watching videos, getting, blog posts and things from other people. And so I want to learn. I want to know, more about the outdoors, more about the trout that I'm fishing, the bugs that are hatching, the things of that nature. So I think learning, helps me prepare.
Yeah.
Great.
Number 4, what's on your bucket list?
My bucket list, man, I'd love to fish Montana.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like
Fly
Brad
fish
Pitt.
Montana. Like Brad Pitt, only different. So yeah, just like that.
Last but certainly not least, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Well, I mean, obviously my family, and seeing people learn. I really like to see, people learn, people get it, whether it's at church, and I'm teaching the scripture and I get it. Or I'm showing somebody how to fish or teaching them about tying a knot or tying a fly on, and that spark in their eye. And it's like, yeah, that's, teaching and seeing people learn and understand so that they can pass it on and they can keep doing it. That I really enjoy that.
Awesome.
Cool. Great. Jason, we appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. This was a good episode.
That's great.
Yeah,
very informative.
I loved it.
We don't spend enough time talking about fly fishing, I think. But Jason, if people want to learn more about you and your company, where's the best place for them to track you down?
Well, I mean, we're on social media. Our website is myersflies.com. So there they can, purchase, fly rods, all the stuff we were talking about, flies. If they want to tie flies, there's some things, on there to do. They can direct message us. They can get a hold of us. I'll take people out and, show them some things and kind of get them started. Of course, Facebook and Instagram, Myers Flies were there as well.
So since you're local, relatively local to us here in central Pennsylvania, can you offer advice to people as far as what fly that you see is effective at that time of the year? What fly to use? Is that kind of universal?
Yeah, I mean, there's some basic things, basic flies that are just, they're just going to work all year long.
Okay.
They're like your staples. They're tried and true. You can use them all year long, and they'll fish well. When hatches start going, fish get very selective, because there's a lot of food. So they can be selective. And so when you're in the middle of a hatch, you've got to, as it was mentioned before, match the hatch. And so whether that's you're matching the nymph that is under the water or the emerger that's coming up through the water or the dry that's on top, there you need to match some stuff. And so certain times a year we're getting into some stuff here with the mayflies, with the the sulfurs here where I'm at in South Central PA on the Cadoras. They have a killer sulfur hatch, and then upstate the green drakes, slate drakes, stuff like that coming in May, and the black stoneflies are coming off right now, little black stoneflies. So yeah, I mean there's a lot of that. There's a lot of resources out there too. I mean the internet can hurt you or help you. So you need to watch where you get information from. Yeah. But there's a lot of really good, places out there, and we'll do whatever we need to do to help somebody, find that.
myersflies.com.
Perfect. Check them out.
Get those floating nails and those diapers.
I bet you we're the only ones that got them too.
Thank you, Jason. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See you later, man.
Take care.
So I feel some hunger pains setting in.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Smells a little smoky in here.
I need me some burn ends.
Well, that's good because there'll be some burnt ends because this episode is brought to you in part by Smoke in the Grove Barbecue Competition in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, being held July 26th and 27th. Smoke in the Grove Barbecue Competition will have more than 60 pro teams competing for cash prizes and a chance to go to the annual Jack Daniel's World Championship Invitational in Lynchburg, Tennessee.
Ooh, wow.
And the American Royal being held in Kansas City, Missouri. These are big competitions for barbecuers.
Those are the cities I think of and just make my mouth water.
Yeah, oh, yeah. They know barbecue. There will also be backyard competitors competing for other cash prizes and plenty other events. With great food, great music, and great people, Smoke in the Grove Barbecue Competition looks to create a tradition that we hope you and your family become a part of year after year. Man,
I know, I'm going back.
It should be a good competition.
Love me them burn ends.
Where do you go? SmokingTheGrove.com.
Yes, you do. Check it out. It's a free event to attend. So come on out, enjoy yourself. Lots of things to do.
It's another one of those events where you feel like a rock star. You're like, you just walk right in.
They waved me right through.
They told me I was a VIP.
Love it. And Bucky, until July, what can I do maybe to offset some of my hunger?
You can get yourself some Moses Family Jerky at mfjerky.com.
mfjerky.com.
Go to mfjerky.com.
And speaking of that jerky, you can also put in promo code of Jerky Pursuits 15.
Oh, yeah? What's that going to do?
It's going to get you 15% off the entire order.
That's the whole website.
The whole website. The whole website.
The whole website.
The jerky.
Spicy
Snack sticks.
Snack sticks. Saucy sticks.
Snack
sticks. The
Snack sticks.
They even have some coffee out there, guys.
Some coffee.
Yep.
Happy.
Coffee. Covfefe.
Head over to mfjerky.com. Use that Jerky Pursuits 15. Fill up that basket and get it.
Get you some.
Hey, Will.
Yeah, buddy.
Where can they find us?
You know, this is very interesting.
What's that?
Tell us.
If you're looking on the iHeartRadio,
You what?
you can find us now.
We're on iHeartRadio now?
We're on iHeartRadio.
I'll be darned.
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.com.
I don't think. Is that a thing?
No,
That's definitely not their jingle.
But I was so fired up
It's
when
close.
when we
it's
got
close
the
to it.
word that
Oh,
we
that's
were going
good
to be
news.
That is good news.
on iHeartRadio. But you can also find us on the Spotify's and Apple Podcast.
Nice.
Love that Spotify.
Check out our website, RuttenRiverPursuits.com.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
And the YouTubes.
Don't forget to check out the YouTubes.
Rotten River Pursuits Podcast.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys.
Good episode, boys.
We'll see you.
And every time we'd be out, we'd be catching some stuff. People would be, standing there. Hey, what are you guys using? What are you using? And so I'd say, well, we're using.
I
these
never do
Scuzzy
that.
Todd. Yeah, yeah. A scud or a salbug, which is like a little freshwater shrimp. Or
So like any macroinvertebrates.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Find
Yeah,
the
you're
guy,
right
the
on.
science guy.
Why don't you just say that? Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, Deke.
You want
he
your own
knows,
show,
man.
Deke.
Well,
This guy knows. Yeah.
So
it's exactly it.
Is it true if you give a man a fish for a day? No,
We're gonna get all philosophical here, existential. Here.
we're
Go
going to
ahead.
turn it, yeah.
Go ahead, Master. Go.
I'm just kidding. But